Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's good to have you here. Today we're gonna do something different. Today we're gonna talk about philosophy, more specifically the Stoic philosophy, and I'm gonna read a small paragraph from this beautiful book, Enchiridion by Epictetus. And it's a small book, and you can get it from Amazon for about $200. This was printed in the United States, so it costs $3 in the United States. So I'll talk a little bit about Epictetus. So Epictetus was one of the most influential Stoic figures who influenced a lot of other Stoic thinkers such as Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and several other influential leaders that we hear about. He was born into slavery, he endured a permanent disability, and then he went on to become one of the most influential philosophers in history. So without further ado, I want to read out Enchiridion, and I'm going to read out the first section from Enchiridion. So Enchiridion basically means manual, and this was sort of like a modus operandi for Epictetus, and a lot of other Stoic thinkers also use this as a manual, and I use it as a manual from time to time. So it starts with this: of things, some are in our power and others are not. In our power are opinion, movement toward a thing, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever are our own acts. Not in our power are the body, poverty, reputation, offices, and in a word, whatever are not our own acts. So in this first few lines, Epictetus does a very good job of explaining the Stoic philosophy. And one of the most important tenets of the Stoic philosophy is the dichotomy of control. And what the dichotomy of control means is that every experience can be separated into two parts, basically. Something that you can control and something that you cannot control. And what the Stoics believe is that these things that you can control are often free, and the things that you cannot control are often subject to a lot of other factors. Basically the things that you will have to pay for in due time. So he talks about the things that are under our control, and those things he mentions are desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever are our own acts. Not in our power are the body, property, reputation, offices, and in a word, whatever are not our own acts. So of course, the pursuit of things like power, having a perfect body, these are under our control, because he goes on to say that movement toward a thing is under your power. Improvement is under your power. Whatever that has been provided to you in this particular moment, the type of body you have, the type of education you got, the place where you were born, these things are not under your control. And the more you focus on these things, the things that are not under your control, that is simply a recipe for more suffering in life. So things that are not under our control are reputation, offices, and in a word, whatever are not our own acts. And even though these things like power, these things like having a perfect body, gathering certain amounts of wealth, they can be achieved if you organize your life around it, if you strategize properly, if you do a certain set of disciplined activities, then maybe there's a chance that you can get these things that are not under your power. But they also have the tendency to be removed from you. These things also have the tendency to be taken from you. And that's why they are not free. They come at a price. So focusing on these things, focusing on things that are not under our power, will cause us to become more reactive in a way. So this segregating the experience in these two spheres is very synonymous to the works of Viktor Frankl and other psychologists. And there are other philosophies and other thinkers who have different notions about reality and how we respond to it. But the Stoic thinking coincides with that of this quote by Viktor Frankl. And he says there is the stimulus from the outside world, and there is our reaction. But between these stimulus and reaction, there is a choice, and in that choice is freedom. That's what Viktor Frankl says. And that is basically what Stoicism kind of is. And that is also one of the foundational values of cognitive behavioral therapy, or REBT. The things in our power are by nature free, not subject to restraint nor hindrance. But the things not in our power are weak, slavish, subject to restraint, in the power of others. Remember then that if you think the things which are by nature slavish to be free, and the things which are in the power of others to be your own, you will be hindered. You will lament. You will be disturbed, and you will blame both gods and men. But if you think that only which is your own to be your own, no one will ever compel you, no one will hinder you, you will never blame any man, no man will harm you, you will have no enemy, for you will not suffer any harm. If we focus on the things that are not our own, and in a way things that we do not control, the more we focus on them, the more suffering we will have to face. So this is something I've experienced some months ago when I was really trying to get my act together, when I was really trying to get my life together. And I was facing a lot of difficulty, I was going through a rough period in time in terms of my career and in terms of my life. And I wasn't hitting my goals. I wasn't hitting the sales target that I had every month. I wasn't publishing consistently. I wasn't doing my due diligence in a way. This one day I wanted to figure out why that was, and I wanted to diagnose the problems that were existing in my life. And then it dawned on me that all of these problems, whatever that was hindering me from reaching my true potential, was the fact that I was attaching all of my success to external rewards. I would only be happy if a certain sales target would have been hit. I would only be happy if I got this amount of views. I would only be happy if I earned this much of money. But that was stopping me from doing what I should be doing. And that's when I realized the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. The more we focus on extrinsic rewards, the more we tend to suffer. The more we focus on intrinsic rewards, and even though this will be difficult at times, sitting down to work, it's difficult. Imagining that carrot at the end of the stick is sometimes helpful, but that's not always helpful, because the goalpost will never stop moving. One of the secrets of success, one of the fundamentals of success, is to stop the goalpost from moving. And how do you stop the goalpost from moving? By having intrinsic rewards. If you sit down to work, the pain that you experience while you are working is itself rewarding in a sense. That's what runner's high is all about. That's what endorphins do. Endorphins are released in order to mask pain in a way that the pain can itself be pleasurable in a sense. That's what fulfillment is. And fulfillment is not the same as happiness. In order to achieve happiness, you might need to achieve certain external rewards. But fulfillment is different. You will be happy even when you are going through pain. And I think that's partly what these philosophers were talking about when they were talking about things like eudaimonia, what Stoics talked about when they said ataraxia. These things are within your control. And that's why they should be something you should seek for rather than external rewards. So that's why I think in all these habit building books, they really focus on these cue, craving, response, reward, right? And they really focus on alluring yourself, tricking yourself to doing difficult things by focusing on the external reward. I mean things like you'll get the chance to eat a pizza after you finish that assignment. But attaching yourself to these external rewards is only going to work in the short term. Unless you love the feeling of being miserable, then this will be an endless cycle, because The goalpost will never stop moving. One day it will be pizza, next day it will be Netflix, next day it will be another pleasurable thing, and the endless cycle of pleasure only goes downhill. So this is a long and winded way of saying you should focus on intrinsic rewards and not external rewards, because external rewards are by nature not free, in the power of others or in the power of the external world. And if we focus on external rewards, we will lament, as Epictetus has said. For those of us who focus on the intrinsic rewards and not external rewards, we're gonna seize the day. So if you are new here, my name is Tubden and I talk about creative entrepreneurship, personal development and philosophy. If you are interested in these subjects, please subscribe because you'll definitely like it here.